Hello. Welcome to the front row seat where it's all about you because you're doing it. Well, I just got back from Texas a couple of weeks ago and I'm out here walking and there's a tree. Look, all the leaves are falling. I think I got mesmerized watching the leaves fall. Well, I just got back to Texas a few weeks ago. Got rested up and I'm out walking, seeing what I can see. I was trying to think of something to ponder on, and I've learned so much this last year that I didn't know where to start. I'm still just kind of processing everything that I learned and how I grew and how I evolved, and it was a very, very intensive experience. There was a lot of people working on one project to get everything done to do a meetup in San Diego, and we all worked together and got it done, and everybody had a good time. And there was a lot going on behind the scenes that always happens when you have a big group of people, because since we're all mirrors, we're going to reflect each other back to each other, and it's real easy to get that confused and think, oh, this is happening to me, when really it's just a reflection of a vibe that you have. So I just tried to sit back and watch and see, what I could see and observe and listen as much as I could, and everything got done and nobody died. We all got back safely in town. So it was a success, and I think that everybody that attended had a really good time. So one of the things I was thinking around a little bit this morning was, how do we go about, or how do I go about sustaining, a good vibration and having inner peace, even though I am working through and doing the inner work that I need to do that is uncomfortable to do. As I know, the only way out is in, and I do recognize some of my patterns now, so I am able to see, what areas I am still working in and where I'm still trying to evolve. And I found it really interesting how life goes around these things, and sometimes it looks like, oh, this is a real struggle and a really hard challenge. Oh, this is happening to me. But I do that too. But when I flip it around and say, well, what if it's happening for me? What if this is something that I need? Maybe it's something I need to learn or I'm working on. And what if it's that one experience that's not pleasant and that, you're working on, and you have this pattern that keeps repeating, and you can see it, as you do this work, you can see the pattern start coming up, and you can kind of work out which one's what. And it's really interesting. If you do, like take a diary or whatever, you'll see these patterns, and we all have them, and it's just within our consciousness and the vibration that we carry, because it's just reflecting out and bouncing back pretty much. So I was looking around that, and I saw that one of the things that happened for me was my struggle to be authentically myself. I was working around other creative people, so that did help a lot. And then there's other people who are more logical and more intellectual and reason. You know, they just think it a different way. And sometimes, you know, when I'm just being myself and being authentically me, it may look to others that are more rational, logical, as silly or inappropriate for an adult to be having fun. And that happens. And one of, you know, the things that I've been working on is accepting the way I am and the way my personality is, and not trying to fit in with the mainstream, you know, I don't know what you want to call it. I don't like the term collective. It's just, you know, it's living within the standard norms of your culture. Let's put it like that. And there's rules, and, you know, well, children are allowed to act this way, but then adults, once you get to a certain age, nope, you can't act that way anymore. And I have found in my life that play and spontaneity is very, very helpful here, because as I do this hard inner work, that's kind of my respite. That's where I rest. That's where I find some peace. It's getting a giggle here and there, because there are funny things that happen here too. So it's just that balance of, you know, being your authentic self and knowing that you're okay who you are, and you're there's nothing wrong with you if you're different, or if you enjoy, you know, having a giggle from time to time. Now, it's not good to be doing that at funerals and stuff, but you know, that's not where I would be, you know, having a giggle at anyway. But it's just, you know, that being authentically you, coming from where you're at and being who you are, because we're all individuals here. We all have our differences. We had different experiences, you know, as we went through our lives, and we're all different. Not a one of us is exactly the same. We have similarities, but we're all very unique because we are shaped by our experiences. And since we all have different experiences, well, we're all going to be a little different. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and they brought up a name. I can't really pronounce her name. I'll just spell it. It's Aynrand. Her last name is Rand. And she was a philosopher at the end of the, you know, the last century. I don't know exactly what year, but she came out of Russia, and she was there when everything got crazy. And so she came to America, and she started she came up with her own philosophy of, you know, what she saw with her own eyes and what she experienced. And she came up with a philosophy, and she named it something like objectivism, something like that. And what her theory talks about is the individual, and how important it is for, you know, for a person to be just individually them. Because if we are just following all the rules and being the way we, you know, we are taught or told that we should be, and we're doing all of those things, we don't have our own individual mind, which is in there. And if it's all covered up with all those rules and all that stuff, well, then it causes nothing but you're going to get frustrated, and then you're not going to be doing what you want to do, and then that causes more frustration. You just start becoming a unhappy person, and without, you know, fostering that individuality in yourself, what happens is your whole life is just caught up in either pleasing others or making sure that you're following all the rules. And I mean, rules are good in a society. I agree, they're good. But there's some rules, like, you know, if you're like that one I just talked about, if you're an adult, then you shouldn't be playing anymore. And I don't think that's a good rule. I know it was in my culture, and if you're not always working all the time, then you have no value and worth. And that's not good either, because working 24, and I saw that a lot in the people in my life, working 24/7, around the clock, never taking any time for themselves. And all it does is makes people very cranky, from what I could tell. And then the ones that would put the work down and go play and laugh a little bit, well, they were a lot easier to be around. They weren't so upset and angry and resentful. Resentment is a big one that I saw a lot. Saw it in myself, saw it in others around me. It's like, well, I can't do that. And, you know, then, oh, I can't be myself here, so I'm just going to be quiet and go over here and sit down and shut up, you know. It just creates a lot of inner pain, and you can't have any peace like that. There is no peace, because you're constantly just on the lookout to make sure that you're within, you know, all those parameters. And it's a sad journey. It's not a good place to be for humans. You know, we have all these things going on within us that we can't bring out, because, you know, there's fears that kind of jump up around, well, if I be my true authentic self, then they're not going to like me, or this person is going to reject me, or any of that stuff. And it's true. When you are yourself, the people that makes them uncomfortable, because a lot of times they just want to be happy too and feel good and play. And when they're around people that are having fun and playing, what makes them upset on the inside, because they want to have fun too. Everybody loves fun. Most people do. Most humans do. And I mean, look at children. They're always looking for surprises, you know, boo, or they're looking for, you know, ways to have fun. Okay, we don't have a game here. Let's make one up and see what fun we can get out of it. And so those ideas are very deep within our psyche. We were all children at one point, and it seems like sometimes the culture just kind of worked all of that out of us, and then we end up later in life going, wow, why didn't I do some of the things I wanted to do? Oh, I was trying to please other people, or, you know, be accepted and doing all of that. And as I get older, I'm finding that, you know, some attachments to some people are not good. And, ooh, that's a little slippery. Woo, woo, woo. Some of those attachments aren't good if they want you and need you to be a certain way so that they're okay with you, you know, in their presence or spending time with them. It's like, it's almost like you have to sign a paper. I will do this and I'll be this way so that you can be comfortable, even though it makes me more uncomfortable. And it's not a good path to go down. I went down it. It didn't work at all. I didn't have, you know, very much logic and the, you know, the more serious side. I didn't have a lot of that. I was very creative and artistic, and it's a different type of intelligence, I guess you want to call it. So as I'm getting older, I'm learning to embrace the way I am, and I found that when those relationships maybe dissolve or move away because you're growing and coming to find that you're happier when you're authentic and finding your peace. And those ones that move away from you, you know, it's a detachment of sorts. But the ones that move away, well, that needed to happen so that you can grow and evolve and move forward. And then others will come in who like that about you, who like you as your authentic self, because those people are there out there in the world too. And it is hard, you know, letting go of things that no longer work for you. It is difficult. And you know, it's almost like you have to pick your attachment. Okay, I want this attachment to this person, or I have to, you know, do something else that I don't want to do. And I think we all need attachment in our lives, but I think that attachments that don't help us grow and evolve and learn aren't great for us. I think that it tends to hold us back in the work we need to do. I think I see a lot of that happening, like within couples, where one person is trying to move forward and working on their inner world and learning about themselves and growing and evolving, and then they've grown and evolved past where they were when they met, and then the other person will say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to look at any of the inner world. I just want to focus on the outer world and keep doing what I've always been doing. And I've seen it a lot of times. I've seen it in my life where people just end up, you know, in two different places, and it can't work anymore because you have to be on the same page in some places to even relate to each other. So that's probably part of it. It's a difficulty in relating once you grow past a certain point. And as we move and grow, well, that's where the peace comes in, because you're working through and letting go of the things that are not you, you know, and finding what is you. And it's that saying, know thyself. And as you get to know thyself and know who you are and know what you're about, what makes you tick and all those good things, then what happens is this peace comes in, because then you end up where you're surrounded by more like-mindedness. You're surrounded by people who are more like you than different than you. And then when that happens, it shows you, oh, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. That's a little bit crazy here. But you know, we all are a little bit crazy in our own ways. I think that it's a prerequisite to come here. We have to go through a lot of struggle, and so it tends to squirrel us out a little bit. But that's okay, because then we can go in and work back towards who we really are and work ourselves back to our true selves, which is great. So I think that this realm that we live in, it works great for bringing us back to who we really are. And I think it's doing its job just like it needs to. I just try to look at it like that. Like, okay, this is happening, and whatever it is, I'm going to learn and evolve and grow. Sometimes it's comfortable, sometimes it's fun and happy, but then other times it's a struggle, because, you know, as that mirror out there reflects back to you, it's going to reflect some of those really deep inner things that we tend to push down because we don't want to feel those things. And I've noticed as I keep working it back and work it back, that it some of the things that I go through, it gets a little harder in some places, not everywhere. It gets much easier in some places, and then it gets a little harder in one or two areas. And I really did notice that when I was out, you know, just you know, working and following what I wanted to do and doing all those things. I found, let me get up this hill. I found that, you know, once I learned some lessons, then it was time to learn other lessons. I've already kind of concluded that lesson. I've kind of worked through all that. And now it's time to work on something new. And I have a friend, and she said this to me the other day. She says, I don't know exactly how she said it, but she said, careful when you learn a lesson, the next lesson there has even a bigger devil in it, or something like that. But something along those lines of, as you work and you get better and you grow and evolve, well, now you're ready for something bigger. You're ready for a bigger lesson to come in. And it's those big lessons, it's the big ones that we grow the most from. So if you grow a lot from a big lesson, well, that means that you're going to feel a lot better than just, the little pieces of work. For instance, I worked through fear of big dogs. Well, that wasn't a real complicated one. It was just, this is what happened. It scared me, and now I'm scared of big dogs, and now I got, working through that one is a lot different than working through something like rejection issues or abandonment issues. Those things are much more complicated. They have deeper roots because they go back the farthest, and is related to how we experienced life when we were young. So those tend to be a little harder to work through, but wow, do they have great rewards. Because when you work through things like that and you get to the part where, you see the world through a lens, and if you think that, people are going to reject you, well, then that's what happens, because you believe that's what's going to happen. But if you believe, hey, everybody's different, some people are going to like me and some people aren't, that's just normal, and just go with that, well, it's a lot easier path to that inner peace that we all seek, because that's what causes us to do some of the things we don't like about ourselves, is just this inner pain. Because if you don't have inner peace, you got probably inner pain. And it's like everybody says, like peeling back that onion. You get some of those smaller ones off of there, and you get clarity around that. And then you start getting down to the center of things, and then you get into the, someone had called them, I don't know, core fears or core something. It was just it's the ones in the very center that started out and you've had the longest. It's kind of like that. And so that's what I noticed this last year, is I'd worked through a lot of the littler ones, and I was like at a piñata party, had me a stick, and I'm swiping at all these things, and those were pretty easy to get out of the way. And it gave me motivation to keep going, just keep going with it. And so I did. So I just kept working on it. And then this last year, excuse me, this last year was a little bit different than the few previous years of doing this inner work, because then the deeper stuff starts to come up, and it's a challenge, and it has a lot of I don't know, a lot of emotion, it's got a lot of punch to it at first when you first encounter it. But I noticed that, okay, this is just reflecting in my mirror, and this is just how I feel and what I believe around certain topics. And so I just kind of dug my heels in and decided I'm doing this, and not repressing how things feel, just letting it come up as it comes up, and just saying, you can tell people, excuse me, this isn't about you, this is mine. I'm having a trigger event here, And excuse me, I'll be back in a little bit when I've sorted myself out. You know, we can say things like that. And you know what I found? People understand. They actually like it when they know what's going on. But when you get upset and then they have no idea what's causing it, or if they did it or something else, or you know, what's going on here, because they don't know what your inner world is. Only you know what that is. And I found that if you can just put some words around it and say, can you please excuse me? I need to have a moment with myself. And I started doing that, and it makes a world of difference, because then they can just look at you and go, oh, you're doing that. Like, yep, I'm doing that. I'll be back. And it really, really helps, because then nobody thinks it's their fault or something's gone wrong or it's them, you know. They know, oh, you're just doing your thing. And there's nothing to be worried about, because everything's okay. I'm just working through this thing that I need to work through anyway, you know, because it's never about the other person. And I've thought this a million times, like, well, you just did that on purpose. No, it just comes up because that vibration is within me. So it's going to come up, and allowing that to come up has been the biggest part of the, you know, the work too. And that's where it all ties back into being authentic and just being who you are. Because what happens is when you're doing that and you're being yourself, those things start coming up, and then you can see the patterns in it, and you can see, you know, what some of the thoughts that you're thinking that causes those types of patterns within ourselves. And then you become the one in the pilot seat. You're driving the car now, because like, okay, I know what this car's doing now. I can see that in front of me. That's what that is, because I've seen it this time and this time and this time. And now you have control, and you're not in a situation where you're trying to hang on and the car's careening all over the road, and you have no control over what's happening. So that's what I've been thinking around. And then I was also thinking about, what was the other one? Oh, can't really remember. But yeah, anyway, I've been back a few weeks, and I'm really enjoying some peaceful time out in nature. And and I have to give kudos to my friend on another thing that she said that really gave me a nudge. And I was talking about, you know, some of the things that I was working on, and you know, I was thinking about doing this or going here and doing that, and then she said, you know, well, does it bring you peace? and there was 3 of us there, and when she said that, does it bring you peace, it was like just, we all just went. Then you know exactly what you need to do. If it's something that's not bringing you peace, then you have to just, you know, reevaluate, is this something I really need to do or want to do, you know? Is it worth it? Is it worth, you know, taking my peace away to do this thing that I probably really don't need to do or don't want to do to begin with? And with that peace of finding your peace and doing what you need to do for you, is the thoughts around learning how to say what you need and let people know. And sometimes if you're not able to do something, we need to be able to say, no, I can't do that. I can't do that right now. And you don't have to explain. You just say no. It's a whole sentence. You just say no. Sorry, I can't help out right now. You know, maybe next time, and then don't feel bad about it. It's okay if you've been stretched to your limits and you're just as far as you can go. And, you know, without that no in there, well, you'll end up getting drugged down the road and doing way too much stuff, especially here at the holidays. You know, knowing and understanding that it's okay to say no will save your life, you know, and it'll keep the stress and anxiety down. And just saying no and taking care of you first and being that individual that you are, being that authentic self, and just let things happen. You know, things happen and then we deal with it, and just let things happen the way they're happening, and then go from there. It's just a step-by-step process of, you know, working your way back in to who you really are anyway. You know, all these things that we're working through really isn't who we are. It's it's just a layering of cultural programming, a layer of, you know, family programming. It's just all information that we gathered, you know, moving through life, and it's not even real. It's just an idea. Oh, well, this is the way this should be, and that's the way that should be, and they're all just ideas. So get in there and play around with it and see what works for you, you know, and then do that. And then if it makes you feel peace, do it. If it doesn't, don't. if you don't have to. I think that the process of doing inner work, it doesn't have to be this harrowing, awful thing. It can just be this day-by-day, step-by-step process that is good and makes us feel good, makes us, you know, see the progress as we grow and evolve. And one of the worst things that we feel is when we feel like we're stuck and we're not moving forward, and we're still, you know, trying to please other people who you're really just doing it so they can feel comfortable within themselves, because they haven't done any searching and looking within. That's usually what's going on. So my holiday message is this: is if it if it brings you peace, do it. If it doesn't, don't. And if you do as much as your authentic self is, and share that with people, then everything's going to turn out a lot better on the inside of it. And then you just kind of walk and embrace the peace that you can find within, because we all have this peace within us. We just got to peel back the layers to get back to it. So happy journeys, and everybody have a good day, and it's good to be back, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.